Hi, Sheila with Creative Aging again. Today we're going to do some ink and we're going to do Zen doodling or Zen drawing. This should be very relaxing. That's why it's called Zen, obviously. So I really don't want anyone to stress out about the design, and we're not even going to use pencil. We're going to go straight to our paper and an extra fine point Sharpie. And so whatever you start with, if you don't like what you see, you just have to work with it. So like I just started this one, and honestly those petals probably weren't exactly the way I wanted. But I'm just gonna make it work. And that's what's supposed to be relaxing about this, is you are just going with any kind of line that you put on the paper and you're gonna make it work. And so this is not realistic. These are meant to be very fun and lighthearted and whimsical and kind of childlike as far as the markings. So there's lots of like loops and lyrical marks where it's just, kind of like, those spirals. I'm not sure. I can't remember what they're called, but you do them kind of as a kid. Lots of dots and stripes, and that's why it's called whimsical. And here's another one that's a little more complex. And so this project could take you an hour or it could take you days. This is the kind of thing that you could kind of come back to and keep working on. Same with like the adult coloring books. A lot of people work on those for days and days, and it's meditative. So this is the same type of mindset. This should be very therapeutic and very relaxing. And as you can see, let's look up close. All of these marks are easy to do, but it's just layering lots of them to make it look more complex. So I know that you can kind of see and recognize any of these marks. So it's not as hard. It's just all about like repeating shapes, repeating lines, and keep on working. And then also using your pen, since we're only using one pen, you're going to make certain parts thicker lines that's darker, and certain parts that are going to be showing more of the paper. So you want a lot of contrast. And I use that word a lot. I feel like most of our projects, you're wanting to, get a build up and lots of contrast. That's going to make anything usually more interesting. And so I'm working on a square piece of paper, and I cut it down. Now you're welcome to cut it any size you want. This one is 7 inches by 7 inches. That's what I'm working on right now. And so just go ahead and cut your paper to a square. If you'd prefer, I actually started this one. I don't know if I'm gonna finish it, but this is when I started on a full sheet of paper. And so you can use a full sheet of paper if you'd like. If you prefer to work on a square, go ahead and cut it down now and use a paper cutter, or you can use a ruler and cut it with scissors if you don't have a paper cutter at home. And then make sure you have your extra fine point Sharpie. And if you'd like, just get a normal like pen as well if you want really a lot lighter lines. So this is really all you'll need for art tools today. And we'll go ahead and get started. And so you can look online if you wanted to find your own image to work from. I will have some pictures attached if you want to look at that. Or this is the perfect project to just make a few marks and then see what happens. So I'm going to start. We're going to do just an easy one. So let's just start with a dot. We can even make some marks, just circles around the middle. And let's just do flowered petal. And a lot of people feel more comfortable starting symmetrical, but these do not have to be symmetrical. You can start that way and then do your own thing. And so I think I'm going to do huge petals on the outside. And I really don't want this to be symmetrical. So I'm going to purposely just do some really big petals and some smaller. So I'm going to go right outside. Maybe I'll move this one. Let's go over this way. And remember, if you do something you don't like, right there, I don't know if you can see that. I don't really like that. But that's going to be a perfect excuse to do some design to cover that up later. So honestly, it's good to make a few marks that you don't love, because that's what's going to get you started on the next step, because you're going to have to cover them up. And that's why this project's really good. It's going to get you out of your comfort zone, which might help you be a little more creative and just be a little more free with your lines. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to start adding more. I don't want to get too many lines, because then it might be overwhelming with your design. And so I need to separate some of these lines. So let's go over the big petals, and we're going to do another outside line. So I'm just going to go alongside the outside. And just, you don't have to do this on every petal, but you can. We're just going to start with the biggest ones and then go from there. And you can always turn your page if that's easiest. And in this space that I just created on those 4 petals, let's do circles. And as you can tell, these are not the same size. I'm not stressing about how perfect these circles are. I'm just filling some space with design. But I'm also taking my time and being mindful of each mark I do. I'm going to do the same thing on the other 3. Now, because we're using pen, this is the kind of project that could give you some hand strain. So if you start feeling like cramped up anywhere, please take a break. This project, you know, with this medium, you can rework it. You can take breaks and come back to it. I'd rather you work on this for a longer time. This is a really good little doodling project that you just keep adding to through the week. So do not hurt your hand To be honest, I've done a couple of these already, so my hand hurts right here. That's where I get my strain, so I'll take my own advice and maybe take a break. Plus, if your hand hurts, your lines are going to be a little more sloppy. So it's better to take a break than to keep working. You don't have to. There's no deadline. This is supposed to be fun. Okay. There we go. Now you can think about what you like or don't like. You can just keep going with design, or if you don't love those circles, we can make another line on the outside to take away from it. I like them. I like how it repeats the shape in the center. So I think it's interesting, and I think later when we're done, I'm gonna like how there's a circle here and then these are repetitive. So now I want a really dark space. So I'm gonna do some shapes on the inside. I'm gonna color that all the way in. Actually, I'm gonna start with just coloring it halfway in, and then I might do the whole thing. So I'd rather you, because you cannot erase these pen marks, I would rather you start smaller, and then you can always color the whole thing in later, but you can't take away this pen. And then you can decide if you want to do the whole thing, because on this one, I did the whole thing. So I'm just trying to do it a little bit different to give you some options. So I'm going to leave it halfway done, and I can decide to change that later. I'm going to make that thicker up there. And remember, it's going to take a while, just like most of our other projects. It's going to take a while for this to build up and look good. But that's really almost with any drawing project. And then last one, here we are. Okay, and let's take a pause. Let's leave those how they are. I might fix them a little bit later and make some of those thicker. I'm going to give my hand a little break and I'm going to do some dots. So let's do dots around the edge and the inside. And I'll do small ones. And I'm going to use them kind of far apart. I like the negative space in this. And see, I'm leaving a big space in between these because then I can always add something else later. So I'm doing that on purpose. If I decide that I don't like those dots, I could maybe put like a big kind of circle around them if I wanted later. I could add more dots. I can do a square around them. So I'm kind of giving myself enough space to change it later on. Okay, and then let's figure out these petals. There's a lot of negative space, which I like, but I think I'm going to add another line. Just right alongside the other. See the difference? Okay, so every so often just take a pause and really look at what you're doing and think about what else you want to add. I'm going to do a circle. And I'm making this up as we do it together. So I really don't know what I'm doing either. I'm just doing what I'm teaching you guys to do. So I'm just kind of playing. I had a basic idea because I practiced this before, but now I'm kind of going off and doing something different. But I'm thinking about what I've already done and repeating shapes. And I think this needs another line. Either a thick line on the end or maybe even dots. I'm not sure. Let's see. I kind of like the double line there. I'm going to do that around these smaller ones. And I'm going to try to make it really on the edge. There we go. And as you can see, none of these lines are really perfect. I mean, this should, I know it's going to drive some of you crazy. Some of you really like those perfectly measured lines, but this is good for you. Okay, so it drives me a little crazy that this one got so thick versus these ones. So I'm going to even that out just a little bit. Because these two, I mean, I actually like how these two look a little bit better, but I feel like they're too different. So I'm going to try to find a middle. So I'm going to thicken up these a little bit more and then re-look at it. And I don't know if you can, on this one, see how even that is? I'm going to fix that. I'm going to smooth it out a little bit. Just a spot where you could tell my hand got tired and I lifted the ink pen. Same with right there. See how it just isn't smooth? And so that's where you can tell my hand gets tired and then it just doesn't make a good mark. So I'm going to look really closely at each one and I'm going to fix whatever I don't like. Now some people might have liked that or not even noticed, but I didn't like it, so I'm fixing it. And I'd like to add some dots somewhere. I'm trying to think, maybe I might add dots right on the edge. I'm trying to think. Let's see. I'm looking at it with you. Maybe around these, I'm going to add some dots in there. And I'm not going to add many. And I'm glad I didn't add many because I think that these are getting too busy. If I added them close together, it could take away from the design. So be mindful. Sometimes you want it to be really busy, like this one. That's a lot of little marks. So it just depends on what you're going for. That's why I want you to do less, and then you can always add more. But I do think it's good to leave something with nothing in it because that's going to just make your design more intricate. Like I love how this part is completely blank and you can see through certain parts. It really just makes all the design work come out even more. So I'm going to continue with my dots. And see this one, I don't even have room to do many, so I'm just going to do the best I can. So some of these have room for dots, but some don't. I'm going to make this center. See how I did make it completely dark in the center? I'm going to do it. I want it to be darker. I think that looks better. And at this point, you could keep adding. Like if you wanted to do design back here and do some stripes. which I'll do that on the other one, just so you can see the difference. So here's the other one. It's pretty similar, but just different enough. And if I wanted to go and add something in the background, I could. Let's do, I'm trying to decide if I want to do something circular or just lines. I might kind of do a grid. I just want to give you lots of options so you can keep going if you want, or you can stay where you are. So there's just some simple lines. I'm going to do a few more actually. I'm just going to go with this. I wouldn't go crazy and do too many lines in the background. You don't want it to really compete with the foreground. But if you do something simple like that, I think that could work. And if you wanted to maybe do more, you could do some dark dots back there if you wanted. So let's do that in the center right here. You could even do squares here. So on this line I'll do different so you can see. So see, that has squares and the other one has circles. And I like that, actually. I wasn't sure if I would. And so this one has just a clean background. And this one has more of kind of just extra stripes. And so just keep playing until you really like what you see. And remember, if you mess up, then just keep working with it. Like this one now, I did see these like little loopy lines. I'll do that. So that is, I'll do it on the back of something. I'll do it right here. So that was just, let's see if you can, there you go. So it was just, that's all I did there. Okay, so that's what I did there. And all the other lines we've done together. That's the only thing that's different on this one. So let's go back to the one we're working on together. And yeah, take a look at it. If you want to do more, please do. If you want to stop, then maybe take a break or stop. It's good to sometimes take a break and then come back to it later, and you might see it differently. Once you're looking so closely, especially with pen, you're really so detailed and you're working small, like you're looking at little pieces at a time. So it's good to take 5 or 10 minutes, just get yourself away from it. Then when you come back, you might see something you don't love and you can change it. Let me do one more thing. I think I want another line here. So I took a break from it, and then I saw something I wanted different. So you just never know. But it is good to take breaks. Your eyes need a break too. If you're not used to drawing, it's using, a different side of your brain, and it's using your eyes in a way that you're not used to. So your eyes really will get tired. You might need a break. Okay, so have fun with this. play with lots of different lines. You know, get used to using this extra fine point Sharpie. If you wanted to make any of them super dark, you can use a bigger Sharpie if you wanted to go on the outside. I wouldn't do much on the inside. Let me actually show you real quick. If you wanted to do just a big outside line, this is just fine point. So this is the extra fine point. This one's going to be thicker. And I'm going to do it on this one because I'm going to have photos of both, and I just want to see, I want you to see the one without this marker, because you might love it, you might hate it. This is definitely thicker, so it's going to change the look. So I'm just going to go over, let's start with the big petals, and I'll just go over it with the big Sharpie just to show you if you want to use this as an extra detail. But this kind of marker can really ruin your image pretty fast, so please do not use it on the inside details. I don't think we're ready for that quite yet. I think you just want to do a little accent, because this is just too thick and it's going to take away from what you did in the center. And I really want all your little lines to be the focus. Now, some people are more advanced, and if you want to do more with this pen, you can, but I don't recommend it. I just think just a couple little extra lines. So do you see how dark that got? And I think it looks good. But if I did much more, if I went over every line with this pen, I don't think it would look so good. But this looks great, just because I did a little bit, and it adds more contrast. And I love all the darks and lights that this has now. So play with both pens, have fun, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.